Welcome back to the PFC Podcast. The views and opinions you are about to hear are the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of anyone else. Now on to the podcast.
Welcome back to the PFC Podcast. This is Dennis, and this episode was recorded at SOMSA 24 in Raleigh, North Carolina, with the sponsorship and support of the Special Operations Medical Association. Thank you guys very much, and I hope you enjoyed the talk.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mikola. I am a SOF medic, one of the Special Force unit. And today I want to share with you some of our experience, problem, and challenges, what we had and we usually have. And I try to share with you how we try to cope with it and how we usually doing this. I also want to aware you that we will use some graphic content, which could be unpleasant. It's all video from like open sources. Usually it's Russian video, and we showed how they try to work against medic and against all medical facility. So general information, as you know, territory of Ukraine is such a big. And for now, the total frontline line is more than 3,600 kilometers. It's quite huge. And if we talk about the active front line, it's more than 1,200 kilometers. The another problem is that all this front line, they divided for, first of all, administrative region. We have 6 administrative regions of it, and each of them have their own terrain, enemy pattern, friendly unit pattern, and they have specific of local medical system and military medical system. All these affect to our planning and the realization medical evacuation process. There's another problem that frontline dramatically and rapidly change every day. In the morning, you could plan in, or in the evening, you could plan in one ops, but when you finally came to the mission, you could find the situation dramatically change, and you should adjust your plan in the place. Small explanation of medical evacuation concept. We have probably same. We do it a little bit, I describe it a little bit upside down. We have role 4. And first of all, we of course have medical hospitals, military medical hospitals. We have civilian hospitals. Mostly they placed in the Western Ukraine and Central Ukraine. Usually evacuation for these hospitals by ambulance, by helicopters, and in some cases it's by train. Because of big number of the casualty, sometimes military medical system use the trains which have amazing name Rainbow, which have ability to take a lot of casualty per one time. Usually it's relatively far from frontline and it's safe. If we speak about role 3, we have the same military and civilian facilities which could take a lot of casualty in the per one time. And usually evacuation for this facility by ambulance, by big buses, because sometimes the casualty is a lot and we are not able to use a lot of ambulance. So sometimes these buses, which capacity is bigger, it's a good option. And only in some point, we have helicopters. As you know, the Russians have air superiority and their air defense system pretty well. So usually we have the ability to use helicopter or any flight evacuation. The distance from the role 2 to role 3 is to really depend of each region, but usually it's like you see. Okay, if we talk about role 2 plus hospital, it's depend still from the region and depend of their intervention. It also could be military and it could be civilian. Evacuation to this hospital usually by ambulance, by some military ambulance, by some civilian ambulance, because we have a lot of volunteer organization and so on. In some cases, in really rare cases, it's possible to have helicopter. It's all defense of enemy, their air defense system and their air superiority. But usually this function is not available for us. Role 2 is usually not able to be placed close to the front line, and usually in matter of distance and time, it's relatively far. That's why usually brigade create their own stabilization point, which something between point of injury and role 2 hospital. It could be some military, usually some brigade, medical service or something like this. Sometimes it could be some volunteer organization, sometimes foreigners, sometimes local volunteer organization, which also try to help as much as they can. And you should understand that usually this stabilization point is much closer to the front line to like split the road and make it easier to casualty reach any like medical help sooner. And the problem with this facility is that usually even sometimes artillery could hit it. That's why it's more dangerous and not a lot of people there. And they like work hard and the price is high because frequently the stabilization point are hit by enemy. If we talk about transport which try to came from point of injury to this stabilization point, usually it's armored transport. Sometimes it's like M113, sometimes it's any other like local armored transport. Sometimes it's usual ambulance, sometimes it's like basic EVAC. It could be absolutely any vehicle that you could find, which usually have normal speeds and normal ability to move. Sometimes it could be even motorcycle or something like this. Sometimes in some region, we have rivers, and sometimes it's boats. And of course, in the point of injury, the medic use like variety of method of extraction of the casualties depend of the many aspects. So now we try to speak about and focus on point of injury to role 2 mostly, because it's my point of interest. And first of all, I want to speak about the planning concept. For example, if you plan in medical mission, you should want to rely to any medical facility. Unfortunately, role 2 is relatively close to the front line, and Russian usually use rockets and something like this, and you have always big chance to came to the role 2 medical facility and find that it's destroyed, and it's destroyed just a couple of minutes before you come. Once we have situation when I brought the casualties to the medical facility, and I hoped that I will have definite care, but instead of this, I find that medical facility destroyed, and I and my casualties started to help the casualties who've been there. Yeah, so it's not a rare situation, and you always should plan that if your medical facility will be destroyed, you should have plan B. About the ambulance, of course, it's a better option to rely to some ambulance what there and send your casualty with better doctors or better medical equipped vehicle. But unfortunately, because of a lot of artillery strikes and everything else, medical vehicle often destroyed. So you always should have plan A and plan B. About stabilization point. It's a really difficult topic because, like I told you before, usually the stabilization point run out by brigade medical service. And the level of this stabilization point could be dramatically different. Some could provide damage control surgery, damage association, some not. And this is a big problem. So always you should be checked, and you should know the whole team who's there, and you should check it as soon as you can and do it frequently. Because if team change, you don't know their capability, and because you should understand that concept is that Now, military mobilized a lot of people, including doctors. Some doctors are capable to do like significant manipulation, some not. And you always should check it. And it's like each day you should understand that the same team with whom you speak is there. About stabilization points, some could be organized at relatively well. Some could be absolutely like work in a austere environment, and you probably haven't desire to bring your casualty there if you're not able to cope with it by yourself. And in case of destroyed and the stabilization point, so even if the morning you go into the mission, you came to the stabilization point, check, speak with the team, you go to the mission, you back, and you can find stabilization point. So it's also quite common situation. Even if the building still stay, the team could remove to some other place, or it could happen a lot of option for medical team. They could be run off supply. They could, if example, they have mascal. For example, in the morning you came, they have blood, they have all medication, they have enough team members, they have enough evacuation transport. You go into the mission, you come back after a couple hours, or you have casualty and you come back. And you came to the stabilization point and they say, sorry, we haven't any supply. We have mascal in the morning, all our blood gone, most of our medication we used. Another option, you came and you find mascal and you understand that you have a place for your casualty and you should go to another place. So this is what you always should have in your mind. The first option in most cases will not work. So base plan is needed and important in this situation. I couldn't tell you how many casualty we have per day, but this is boots of the casualty, what we collected for per day. I show one more time. Yeah. So you should understand that it's a lot. Of course, it's depend from the region. It's depend from the current activity of enemy and everything else of current our activity. But usually it's a lot. So mascal, it's like usual things for a lot of stabilization point. And in some cases, resupply not work well, you could find yourself in position where you haven't additional medical supply and stabilization point or in any other facilities. About the special operations surgical team. Of course, in this case, if you're not able to rely on the general medical military system, it's a logical decision to use your own surgical team, if you have, of course. Luckily, we have. And of course, it's normal desire to measure risk and benefits and put surgical team as close as you can, because you never know what happened. And of course, you are able to rely to your own surgical team because you know them, because you work with them like long time, and you know that they do everything for you and for your team. But in the beginning, usually surgical team doing well. They set some normal pace and ready to take like some number of the casualty, which are usually discussed before. But sometimes, if they will be spotted, or if you like compromise yourself somehow, something could happen and something could go wrong. So for surgical team, you always also should have base plan, because sometimes maybe your surgical team will need your help. This is really important to know your team, to know your surroundings, and be ready for any consequences. About vehicle and road from point of injury to like first or stabilization point or road to hospital. Usually, special operations forces forced to support infantry. Not always you have really special operation mission, and sometimes you use the same road what you use infantry because you haven't any other option, because everything except the main roads have mines, and you understand that only way to extract or came to the mission, infiltrate, it's only this road. I want to explain how it's like one of the average road. So it looks like this. A lot of vehicle crushed, destroyed, and if you try to go through this road, you struggle a lot. So, and you understand that you not always have a big chance. Another problem is the time to extract take a time. It's depend, of course, but sometimes 1 kilometer you could drive like from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. Also, I want to describe the main and evolution of the main threats for the medical members of unit, and in some cases in medical facility in general. So we try to describe it from 2022 to 2024. In the beginning, as you know, as Russia trying assault by any assets what they have. They use tanks, they use artillery, they use rockets, they use combat helicopter, they use fighter jets, and of course all this they like absorbed by UAV. This was terrible, but in these cases, they not try to precisely destroy all life forces, including the medicine. So in these cases, you try and being able to work like we trained before. You could work in can the fire, like, you could try to finish the mission, try to provide all precision can the fire. So usually you haven't time for this. In tactical field care, you usually be able to find cover to provide all march or part of the march and be able to prepare for normal evacuation and call evacuation. During evacuation process, if your vehicle run fast, usually you haven't any additional hazard except like some absolutely random strikes or something like this. A little bit later, when the front line stop a little bit, the enemy start using like absolutely insane strike they just take some area and send every artillery shells what they have, any bombs and everything else. So in these cases, you usually also been able to work normally, but the chance to be hit being higher than usually, but still you have chance because they not attack precisely you because mostly they cover all area. Or sometimes a smaller area if enemy of like we've been spotted there. But if we go a little bit further, he described for themselves drones. Of course, they have it before, but usually in first months of full-scale war, they don't use it so much. But after they start, usually if you've been spotted, you usually haven't enough time to do all manipulation because they see you. And if you stop somewhere and even if you take care in some trench or some building or something like this, artillery, mortars and everything else start directly hitting your area. And of course, you haven't, in this case, a lot of desire to stay there and provide full march algorithm and everything else. But it was only beginning. Then they find out for themselves drones with payload. And this dramatically changed all situation. A lot of person was killed by this system. Now I want to show you some video which have graphic contents. It's video from open source Russian Telegram canals, YouTube's even. So let's watch. Usually it's some kind of evacuation process. So if they spotted you, usually you haven't time to provide normal medical care. Even the trench and blindage haven't stopped them. And they have no mercy for evacuation. They have no mercy for medics. And it's not they also try to injure you. They usually, if you injured you, they try to finish you. And it's caused a lot of problem. So as you have any casualty, you slow them down. If you slow down, they spot you and they hunt you all resources what they have. Usually solution was try to do everything fast. We do not stop in one place. We not provide all march algorithm. We provide just tourniquets and try to find better cover, better maybe evacuation transfer to try to run out as fast as possible. In this time, we change a little bit our SOP, and usually we provide march in our vehicle which already enrolled. Or if we have some solid like protection or solid cover like normal building or something like this, we provide all march algorithms there. First, we could like have protect ourselves by night, but a little bit later they discover for them also night drones, and it's became impossible. So solution was try to make everything fast and try to reach your evacuation transfer. It's desirable like armored and perform all march sequence inside of it, or like try to run to some solid cover and perform march there. And it works, but a little bit later they discover for their first person view drones with payload or kamikaze drones. I'm sure you saw hundreds of this kind of video, and it's like give them additional advances. So if before speed could help you, since they find drones, speed is not like work anymore. Only one thing what could help us, it was radio warfare, jam device, but it's not a lot for now, and we struggle from first person view drones a lot. One more video. So even if they see someone who already injured, they usually do not allow them to stay alive. If they understand that a lot of people run to them and try to help them, usually they wait a little bit and they finish a lot. Even if they see that someone already evacuated someone, they do not leave them a chance usually. Yeah, pattern of the wound is terrible. Guys still trying to provide first aid by themselves at night. Before they haven't night drones, now they have, and now even night, like they able to find you. They like first usually they hit infantry, then they hit evacuation transport. Yeah, so this is huge problem for now, and of course it depends from the territory. It depends from the location, from enemy pattern. Some enemy have good like drones team, some worse, but still usually it exists in all front line, and it's huge problem for like evacuation team. It's huge problem for each medic. It's in general a huge problem, but in perspective of medic, it's like double problem, because usually if you have casualty, you slow. If you slow, you have less chance to survive. Another like common problem is car incidents, because now all try to do everything fast, and of course you're not always able to drive correct, and usually have car incident. If you have car incident, you stop. If you have it stop, usually drone comes, and consequence will be bad. Another problem is landmine. One more video, what I'm sure you see because it was super famous. It's 47th Brigade. Around there, the guys came to their landmine field, and one medic came to extract one of the casualty, and his attempt was not successful. It's more about that you should always know the road, because especially if you try to assault, you probably will have problem, because Russia try to mine everything what they see. So this is problem what we usually have now. The last two what I described about drones is doesn't accept all other problems what we have before: artillery, mortars, rocket strikes, bombs, and everything else. Even more, the last time the Russian is super actively use guided bombs, and they just cover a huge area, and you have absolutely difficult pattern of the wound, which I will not describe it now, but it's separate topic of speech. So this is our problem. How we usually trying to solve this? The simplest way is training and supply. So usually if we take average scat, usually we have before the medic what with all resources what they need, backpacks, blood, dry plasma, and everything else. But for now we understand that it's better do not collect in one place, because if you collect more than 3 or 4 person, the chance that drones will come to you it's dramatically increased. So of course usually team splits as much as they can. So of course one medic usually is not enough. So we have another medic who have another like supply. So usually we multiply our medical equipment. But sometimes team try to split even more. Sometimes 2 person, 3 person, or something like this. And of course you could leave them without medical supplies. So we multiply medical supplies more. So 4 times more, and give them another medical supplies was quite difficult for unit. But the problem is that they are not being trained like medic before. So we also force it to make and force and train everyone by higher standards. And it's take time and additional supplies to train everyone. And it's the biggest problem in military, because time and supplies during combat mission, it's super difficult. Of course, they all have individual kits, but another problem is blood kits, which also try to provide them, because if somehow we will be run out of the blood, we need somehow solutions. So walking blood bank is essential. Because we understand that of quality of road, mines, and hazard what have usually evacuation team, we understand that it's not enough to give for each team like separate evacuation transport. And we haven't so many medical personnel to create medical transport for each team, especially it's split it more and more. So we're trying to give each team the best medical supplies what we have. We understand that blood is essential, so we usually give them advanced medic, backpacks, blood, refrigerator, oxygen concentrator, some additional dry plasma in cases they will be lack of the blood, and everything what they need. Of course, you could give it just for one team. If they split it, you should give the same to each small team what they have. Of course, if you're already in the front line, you understand that if they provide someone else help, they provide help not only for for themselves, they provide also for friendly units. And of course, it's like normally that your medical supplies run. Like you, like a senior medic, should take a lot of additional supplies. You should be ready to establish casualty collection point in case if your surgical team is not available for now. And another, you understand that for now you haven't all like members who combat medic. You understand that all your members now should be trained higher, and you also should take some additional training staff to keep their knowledge in appropriate level. We also have a lot of problem with medical supplies, because after shelling, sometimes medical supplies are lost, sometimes it's broken, sometimes it's damaged, and it's not be useful anymore. Walking blood bank challenges. The main problem with walking blood bank is that usually in this environment, you haven't time to donate blood and give the blood, because it's at least take 10-15 minutes, and it's usually not enough, only in case if you have some solid coverage, but it's not always available, unfortunately. Cold stored whole blood challenges. Problem with it that we haven't, because we dramatically split our units, we do not have so many blood refrigerator. So of course we have some good one, but in some cases I force it to buy some cheap Chinese blood refrigerator, put the temperature logger, and improvise and give guys. Another problem that after shelling or something like this, refrigerator could be broken or something like this. So we do not put a lot of blood in one refrigerator anymore. So we try split it, because if some refrigerator will be broken, we hope that our like friendly team will be help us. Medication charges, because sometimes you force it to stay a long time in one places, because drones do not allow you to evacuate by yourself, and they also do not allow you to evacuation transport or rescue team came to you. You should stay a long time in one like cover or something like this. And of course, pain management is important and essential. And in case if there are combat medic is a not huge a problem, but in case if they're like just a member of team for whom we train like as much as we can, he not able to recollect all medicine, and we try to give them some cheat sheet. We try to maximum simplifies medication for them. Of course, we use telemedicine, but in case of internet, in case of Starlink, is not always available. So cheat sheet for now is somehow solve the problem, but not always. In case of difficult situation, is not always work. Evacuation system challenges. Yeah, of course we have the medic. Of course we have some transport with all like this basic needed medication. We have surgical team and we have damage control, the situation team. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes surgical team are not available because they work in another region, which are also super essential. Sometimes damage control team is not available because of drone attack or something like this, or terrible condition of the roads. So sometimes the combat medic only one who stay with the casualty a long time, and their own vehicle, if it's still like not damaged, only one vehicle which allow them to extract from the point of injury, and all medication what they have, that everything what they can do with the casualty for any time what they need. Yeah. So this is problem and challenges what we faced every day, and I'm not always able to find all solution and material what I have. So we try to improvise, we try to do lesson learn as much as we can, and we try to adapt and adjust to our situation. But any day, anytime you could find yourself in situation when enemy creates some other difficult way to injure you, to make you suffer. And it's not enough to be ready and to react adequate to current situation. You should anticipate situation and predict as you can. And we try to do it every day. And sometimes we successfully, sometimes unfortunately not. Thank you so much for all of your support. All of my equipment and equipment of team is mostly American, and we happy for all support what we need. Sometimes we need something what we still don't know what we need, but we try to anticipate all hazards what we will have. Thank you so much. In memory of all combat medics what we lost in this war. Thank you.
That's it for today's podcast. Make sure to go to our website, www.prolongedfieldcare.org. Check out our free downloads and a ton of other helpful information. Grab a bag of our fresh roasted PFC coffee, links in the description below, and stay on the bleeding edge of combat and austere medicine. This is Dennis for the PFC Podcast, out.